All right, good morning. I'd like to bring the April 17th, 2024 Planning Advisory Commission meeting to order. The official start of this meeting is 9 a.m. Could you please rise for a pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please silence or turn off your cell phones. Thank you. I'll remind those in the audience and those watching on TV that this is the first hearing of any rezoning, text change, or special exception request brought before us today. We will first hear a reading of the staff report for the case by planning staff and ask the applicant to provide a brief overview of the request. We will then give the opportunity for anyone in the audience to speak for or against that request or to inquire about said request. The commissioners will have any needed discussion on the case. Once a motion is made and seconded by the commission, a vote will take place and a recommendation will be rendered. The case will go back to the planning department for their independent recommendations. If a favorable recommendation is given, then the case is forwarded to the city council with 2 independent recommendations. If the planning department makes a recommendation for denial, the applicant will have 10 days from the receipt of the letter stating the denial to notify the clerk of council that they are requesting to be placed on the city council's agenda. The City Council of Columbus will hold a public meeting called the first reading. Said council shall consider the case, review Planning Advisory Commission and Planning Department recommendations, and hear discussion on the matter. Council will make a final decision at a second public reading called the second reading. Our first agenda item today is to approve the minutes of the previous meeting. Does anyone have any comments or corrections regarding the minutes? All right, well, I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the minutes. All right, the second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All right. That brings us to our first case of the day, REZN-03-24-0502, a request to rezone 2.20 acres of land located at 904 Fort Benning Road. Current zoning is general commercial, GC zoning district. Proposed zoning is residential office, RO zoning district. The proposed use is multifamily residential. Olympia Development is the applicant. The property is located at Council District 3, Huff. Could we please hear from planning staff?
Good morning. The property at 904 Fort Benning Road is 2.2 acres and is currently zoned general commercial. And the request is for RO residential office to build senior apartments that will have a leasing office and amenities like a community room or laundry area. The proposed apartment will be 52 units that are going to be 2-bedroom. The density is 23 dwelling units per acre, and in this RO zoning, 43 would be allowed, so this is less than the minimum. The project would generate approximately 10 trips a day. The future land use is public institutional, so this is inconsistent with the land use plan, but it is compatible with the surrounding area. There's RO to the east and all along on South Fort Benning Road. The west side of Fort Benning Road is multifamily zoning. A Category C buffer would be required to the north and east, and engineering had no concerns, and the final site design will need to meet their standards. There were 24 residents who were notified, and I had 1 call just asking questions about it. They were not for or against, they just wanted to know what it was.
All right, any commissioners have any questions concerning the staff report? Would the applicant like to come forward and give me your name and address for the record and give us a brief overview of your request?
Sir. Good morning. My name is Oscar Coronado. Address is 4310 Old Quinman Highway, Valdosta, Georgia. As said in the summary, we are proposing the development of 52 units in this location, 904 Fort Benning Road. We have been in communication with some of the representatives of the neighborhood. We're letting them know of our intentions. We want to make sure that our community becomes a neighbor there. We're not just trying to build something and leave. Our company has been developing affordable housing for over 33 years. And my role as the director of development is start building the communities that we will own and manage for the next 33 years. So we are very interested in the location. We want to continue and join the efforts of the city in this specific area. And what we are proposing is 52 2-bedroom units that will serve residents that are 55 and older. It's also known as housing for older people. And the rule is that at least 80%, but usually all the property is rented to at least one resident that is 55 and older. And this allows for different type of combinations in families, and especially in a age where it's a little hard to keep up with rents and because of the income decline. So that is the purpose of our development, and we think that is in a good location and will also be a good asset to the community. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Yes, Mr. King?
Yeah, give me your definition of affordable housing.
Yes, affordable housing is, it's based on the area median income. The property we are proposing is not subsidized housing, meaning that the property will not have vouchers, but the rent will be set based on the income of the MSA, okay? So our rents are gonna be capped at 50% and 60% of the city. In exchange of that, we will receive taxes that are used to leverage the development and bring equity to the development and build it. So we build this in accordance to the qualified allocation plan designed by the Department of Community Affairs, the Georgia Department of Community Affairs. And we're proposing this application to be a 2024 deal to be submitted and reviewed by the Department of Community Affairs this year. So I hope that answers the question.
What would you can you give me an example about what the rent would be for a senior citizen moving into this?
I don't have the specifics of that. I have it on my computer. I can look at that if needed. But usually the rent is below market rent, and our definition, or the definition of the state, is for this specific competition, they look at the fair market rents and they compare that to the 50 or 60% rent. So the idea is that a person that earns between 50 and 60% of the area median income, they will not pay more than 30% of the annual income or household income towards rent.
Okay.
By reducing that percentage to less than 30% of whatever the household makes, we're helping our residents to be able to afford more money for groceries, insurance, and other services that are important for the quality of life. So.
Is this going to be a high-rise unit, or is it spread out over the 2.2 acres?
We're looking at doing a 4-story building with an elevator. Part of the requirement of senior housing is that if we have more than one building, we have to have an elevator. So we're doing 4 stories, and we're accommodating the 52 units and all the in the one building.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks,
Yes,
sir.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes, how are you doing? The utilities, are they going to be included in this rent, or how are you doing the utilities?
So thank you so much. That's a very important question. I forgot to mention regarding the affordability. As of right now, we are considering to have a utility allowance, meaning that based on the rent that we define, we will reduce an additional amount so that residents have, within that 30% buffer or cushion, enough money to pay rent and pay utilities. And when we talk about utility, we're talking about water, sewer, and power. Trash and all of any other utility, it's handled by the owner.
Okay, one more question. Is this going to be a gated area or open? Is it going to be like the one on Far Road, that high rise over there? I mean, you don't have a picture, right?
We have some elevation concepts. We have some renderings that were just prepared by our architect yesterday, so I didn't have time to make sure that you all receive it.
Okay.
We're still working on coloring and all of that. Looking at the aesthetics of the property, and this still has to go through the building department, and we have to make sure that we meet all of the requirements. Mm-hmm. But as of right now, we anticipate that at least 30% of the facade will be stone or brick. We're going with brick most likely. Mm-hmm. And we're looking at a combination of colors. We do more than 30% of brick up front, just because 30% puts us right on the middle of the first window, so it's just easier to go above that. And we have decided to add a fence. We are taking into consideration a fence, but it's not a gated community.
Okay.
So people will have access to the parking lot to facilitate the entrance, entrance and people leaving the community. However, entering the building would be only for people that have the key.
Okay.
And residents that have access to it. And most likely we have the main entrance going directly to the manager's office. So we will protect our residents. It is important to mention that one of the amenities is that we have on-site management. So we will have office hours, people working there. And we're also going to have a maintenance person that will take care of the property. So.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Baker.
It sounds like you all build these elsewhere. Is that
Yes, sir.
true? What have you seen in a city or in an area that's similar to ours as far as your occupancy, your success rate, and your retention rate of these folks over time?
Yes, thank you. There is a study made by the University of Georgia in conjunction with DCA. They did an analysis of the impact of affordable housing in certain locations. One of the most relevant results of that analysis was that everywhere that an affordable housing used in a combination of tax credits, especially the 9% tax credits, it promotes development in the corridor, in the area. I was recently in a property in another city in central Georgia that I developed about 5 years ago. And 6 years, the first time I walked into the property, it was just a plain field. After the construction of this community, we see that a warehouse that was abandoned next door turned into a commercial building that is drawing a lot of jobs and things. And then the next property has also developed into offices and retail space. So by building in this area, we anticipate that people will be most likely interested in the growth and see the opportunity of adding to the community and bringing more businesses and bringing more things, especially because they will realize that they're not the only ones interested in investing in the location. So that is one of the things. The other thing is that we actually own a couple of properties in the city next door, and we have about 16 properties in Georgia. We have one more under construction, and we have about, I think, 23 in Alabama. Our main office is in North Alabama. I am in Georgia, and our goal is to develop more into this area. So Columbus is a strategic location for us. Right now, we're considering also adding 2 more properties in the city, but it would be in a future stage, next year's.
All right, any other questions from commissioners? The applicant? Would anybody in the audience like to speak for this request?
Good morning. Bruce Huff, City Council, District 3. We had a wonderful meeting on Sunday. Mr. Coronado took time to call in on a Zoom meeting. So I had a meeting at the Spencer High School property there. The property sits right behind Spencer High School. So I met with the Alumni Association and let them get all the questions out. So our understanding at this point is, as he explained, he's not familiar with the Far Road question that you asked, but I think it's similar to that it would be a gate around it with an entry point, and then on the entry point to the apartment unit, it would have a security base of key where you can't get in unless you live there. But their questions to him was, after we get past the zoning, one pointed question was, if 55 is considered senior, what happens if grandmother's 25-year-old grandson moves in? How do we know it's not a threat to the community? So they have a criminal background check for all permanent residents. So he said, based on Christmas, Thanksgiving, or whatever visitations for vacation, no one will be allowed on the property for more than a couple of weeks. After that, they have to have background checks to be there. The landscaping piece and all that hasn't come up yet. We'll get into that when we get with planning and development. As far as their concern was, will it be as nice as Spencer High School? And he said he doesn't know if it'd be as nice as Spencer High School, but it'd be something compatible to make sure that works. I'm trying to think what other questions we had. But appearance, I told him we are pretty much a brick city, so that was nice to hear that bricks would be involved in the development of that property. We had probably about 40 or 50 people at the meeting on Sunday, and there was no pushback on it. I informed them that we usually send letters out 300 to 600 feet beyond that point. So we hadn't heard, like they mentioned, they hadn't heard except from one person. I hadn't heard from anyone. He personally, Mr. Coronado personally called me to update me on this development. So he was the one that brought it to my attention. I called the Alumni Association, and everything so far so good. I don't have any complaints this morning. Any questions for me?
I have.
Yes, go ahead, Mr.
Okay, the one on Benning Road out there, not too far from the old Livingston, is that similar to that, where's it gonna look that way? I'm just trying to get in my mind.
Are you down around Patriot Point?
Not too far from Vivian's house off of on Benning Road.
Yeah, similar to probably.
Similar to that?
Because they have, you have Arbor Point, you're talking about Patriot Point, the 3-story building.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, similar where you'll be having access to the parking lot. Yeah, something similar to that. His is a little bit more spread out than Patriot Point, but something similar.
A little bit more. Okay, will there be a sitting area, like a little picnic area or a park or something?
A sitting area?
That they're gonna put there for the seniors?
Come on, speak from the podium, please.
Yes, part of the amenities that we will include is there is a outdoor gathering area.
Okay.
And we're still debating about the idea of having a community garden. We like the idea of having it. We just have to make sure that we have enough space to accommodate that space with the exterior gathering or gazebo. So we will have some areas for the residents to gather outside, to have some entertainment outside. So yes. And on top of that, we will also have some interior amenities. We're still defining them based on the plans that we received yesterday. We're looking at doing we will have the office, we will have the laundry room, and we're debating between a fitness room with some exercise or a computer room. So we're trying to make sure that we have something that will be used by the residents. So.
Thank you so much, because a lot of things are important when they're right there for them and not having to go to them. Thank you so much.
Last point before I sit down, we had a conversation, and I did see an older property that they did in Phoenix City, probably about 2003, and I was very impressed that it was 20 years old, and it had a picnic area, sitting area, a pool, and a small playground for the kids. And it was very clean, and neighbors walking through the parking lot without a problem. But last point, I spoke with Director Will Johnson last week. This area is an enterprise zone, and he presented to us at last council meeting that I didn't know. Enterprise zone always meant business to me, development. But enterprise zone has been afforded to residential development now. So he said it will qualify. So some of the tax credits and things he's speaking of will probably come from the fact that he's in the enterprise zone.
Right,
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody in the audience like to speak against this request? Is there any other additional discussion among commissioners? Would a commissioner like to make a motion? Go ahead, Mr. Baker.
When it comes to REZN 03240502, a request to rezone 2.2 acres of land at 904 Fort Benning Road, I recommend that we approve this. It is compatible with existing land uses in the surrounding area.
Do we have a second? All right, all those in favor, raise your right hand. All righty, it's been approved, sir.
Thank you.
I'd like to welcome Michael Ernst to the Planning Advisory Commission Board. We're glad you're here and look forward to serving with you. Is there any other business we need to discuss before we adjourn?
Cases, the next meeting?
May 1st and May 15th.
All righty, well, would the commission like to make a motion to adjourn? All right, a second. All right, we're adjourned.